Hello, my little love. Did you have a good day today? I hope something made you smile. Now take a slow breath, relax your shoulders, and let your mind get soft and quiet. It's time for a gentle bedtime story. Once upon a time, in a faraway village nestled between rolling green hills and whispering willow trees, there lived a young boy who loved to rest. His name was Jin, and more than anything in the world, he loved to lie beneath the shade of the old oak tree near his family's cottage and watch the clouds drift by like soft white ships sailing across the blue sky. Jin's mother and father worked in the fields every day, tending to the vegetables and grains that fed their family. His older sister helped carry water from the well, and even his little brother gathered kindling for the fire. But Jin, he would stretch out on the cool grass, feeling the gentle breeze brush against his cheeks, and he would close his eyes and listen to the songbirds singing their afternoon melodies. His mother would call to him softly from the garden. "Jin, sweet one, would you help us gather the carrots today?" But Jin would yawn and say, "Perhaps tomorrow, mother. Today the clouds are telling me stories." And his mother would sigh a gentle sigh, not angry but worried, because she knew that Jin needed to learn about the world and about caring for others. His father would ask him kindly, "Jin, my son, would you like to learn how to plant seeds? The earth is warm and ready." But Jin would stretch his arms above his head and say, "Perhaps next week, father. Today the grass is so soft beneath me, and I am learning how the wind moves through the trees." And his father would shake his head slowly, wondering how to help his dreamy son understand. The seasons turned like the pages of a quiet book. Spring became summer, and summer faded into autumn. The leaves changed from green to gold to copper, and they drifted down like gentle whispers. Still, Jin rested beneath his tree, watching and dreaming but never helping, never working, never learning the skills his family tried to teach him. One cool autumn evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of peach and lavender, an old woman came walking down the path that led past Jin's village. She wore a cloak the color of twilight, and she carried a walking stick carved from silvery wood. Her eyes were kind but knowing, and she seemed to notice everything around her: the way the leaves fell, the way the smoke rose from cottage chimneys, the way Jin lay beneath his tree even as his family finished their day's work. She stopped near the oak tree and looked down at Jin with a soft smile. "Good evening, young one," she said, her voice like the rustling of paper. "You seem very peaceful lying there." Jin opened one eye and nodded. "Yes, grandmother," he said politely, for he had been taught to respect his elders. "I am watching the first stars appear. They twinkle like little diamonds sewn into a velvet blanket." The old woman nodded slowly. "You have a poet's heart," she said. "But tell me, young one, what do you do to help your family? What do you do to care for others?" Jin closed his eye again and sighed. "I think beautiful thoughts," he said. "I notice the way the light changes. I listen to the songs of the world. Isn't that enough?" The old woman was quiet for a long moment, and Jin could hear the gentle sound of her breathing, steady and calm like the rhythm of the sea. Then she spoke again, and her voice was both kind and serious. "Sometimes, dear child, we need to do more than notice the world. We need to be part of it. We need to give, not just receive. And when we forget this, the world has a way of teaching us." Jin didn't understand what she meant, but before he could ask, the old woman tapped her walking stick 3 times on the ground, and a soft golden light shimmered in the air around them like fireflies dancing. Jin felt a strange tingling in his fingers and toes, warm and gentle like sunshine on skin. He sat up, feeling suddenly sleepy, and when he looked for the old woman, she had vanished like mist in the morning. That night, Jin went to bed as usual in his small cozy room. The moonlight filtered through his window, casting silver patterns on the walls. He pulled his soft blanket up to his chin and closed his eyes, thinking about the strange old woman and her mysterious words. And as he drifted into sleep, he had the oddest feeling that something was changing, something deep inside him, like a seed beginning to sprout in warm soil. When Jin woke the next morning, something felt different. The sunlight streaming through his window seemed brighter, the sounds of the birds seemed clearer. And when he tried to get out of bed, his body felt heavier somehow, slower. He sat up and looked down at his hands, and he gasped softly. His fingers looked different, thicker somehow, and when he touched his face, it felt strange and unfamiliar. Jin stumbled to the small mirror hanging on the wall, and what he saw made his eyes grow wide. Staring back at him was not his own face, but the face of a young calf. With soft brown eyes and a gentle pink nose and 2 small bumps on his head where horns would one day grow. He tried to speak, to call out for his mother, but the only sound that came from his throat was a soft, confused moo. Jin's mother heard the sound and came into his room, and when she saw the small calf standing where her son should be, she gasped and covered her mouth with her hands. Jin tried to tell her it was him, that he was still her son inside this strange new body, but all that came out were more gentle moos. His mother's eyes filled with tears, but she was a wise woman. And she remembered the old stories her own grandmother had told her about magical visitors and lessons that needed to be learned. She knelt down beside the calf that was her son and stroked his soft head gently. "Oh, my dear Jin," she whispered. "What has happened to you?" But somehow, in her heart, she understood. This was a teaching, a way for Jin to learn what words alone could not show him. She led him carefully outside to the small barn where the family kept their one ox, an old gentle creature named Bo who had worked the fields for many years. And so Jin's new life began. At first, everything felt strange and difficult. His body was heavy and moved differently than he remembered. He had to learn to walk on 4 legs instead of 2, and the ground seemed much closer to his face. He missed being able to speak, to tell stories, to sing. But slowly, day by day, Jin began to understand what it meant to work, to help, to be part of something larger than himself. His father would come each morning and gently place a wooden yoke across Jin's shoulders, connecting him to old Bo. Together, they would walk to the fields, their hooves making soft rhythmic sounds on the earth. Jin learned to pull the plow, to feel the resistance of the soil, to understand how much effort it took to prepare the ground for planting. The work was hard, and by midday his muscles would ache. But there was something satisfying about it too, something he had never felt before when he was simply watching and resting. Old Bo walked beside him patiently, never rushing, never complaining, just doing what needed to be done with quiet dignity. Jin learned from Bo's steady presence, from the way the old ox took each step. With purpose, from the way he rested when it was time to rest and worked when it was time to work. There was a rhythm to it, Jin realized, a balance he had never understood before. In the afternoons, when the work was done, Jin would stand in the barn and watch his family moving about their tasks. He saw how his mother's hands moved with grace and skill as she prepared food, how his father's face showed concentration and care as he repaired tools, how his sister sang softly while she fed the chickens, how his little brother tried his best to help even when tasks were difficult for his small hands. And Jin felt something new growing in his heart, something warm and humble. It was gratitude and respect, and the beginning of understanding. The seasons continued their gentle dance. Autumn deepened, and the air grew crisp and cool. Jin helped harvest the vegetables he had watched his family plant months ago. Pulling the cart filled with pumpkins and squash, feeling the weight of the harvest and understanding now how much work had gone into growing this food. When winter came with its soft blankets of snow, Jin helped carry firewood, his breath making little clouds in the cold air, and he was grateful for the warm barn and the hay to sleep in. Spring arrived like a whispered promise, with green shoots pushing through the thawed earth and birds returning with their cheerful songs. Jin had been a calf for nearly a full year now, and he had learned so many things. He had learned that work could be meaningful, that helping others brought a different kind of joy than simply resting. He had learned that being part of a family meant sharing in both the hard tasks and the celebrations. He had learned patience from old Bo, and perseverance, and quiet strength. One evening in late spring, as the sun was setting in ribbons of pink and gold, Jin stood in the field after a day of plowing. He felt tired but content, a good kind of tired that came from honest work. He looked up at the sky, at the clouds he had once spent so much time watching, and he realized something important. The clouds were still beautiful, the birds still sang their lovely songs, the wind still whispered through the trees. But now he appreciated these things even more, because he understood that beauty and rest were sweeter after work. That peace was more precious when you had earned it. As these thoughts filled his mind and heart, Jin noticed a familiar figure walking toward him across the field. It was the old woman in her twilight cloak, her silver walking stick glinting in the fading light. She approached slowly, her kind eyes studying him carefully, and then she smiled a warm, knowing smile. "You have learned well, young one," she said softly. "You have learned what it means to give and not just receive, to work and not just rest, to be part of the world and not just an observer of it." Jin wanted to thank her, to tell her all that he had discovered, but he could only make his gentle cow sounds. The old woman understood anyway. She raised her walking stick and tapped it 3 times on the ground, just as she had done a year ago. The same golden light shimmered in the air, warm and tingling, and Jin felt his body beginning to change again. It didn't hurt, it felt like waking up from a long dream, like stretching after a good sleep. His legs became human legs again, his arms returned, his voice came back to him. He looked down at his own hands, his own body, and tears of joy and relief filled his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered to the old woman, his voice hoarse from not speaking for so long. "Thank you for teaching me." The old woman nodded gently. "You taught yourself, dear child." I only gave you the opportunity. Remember what you learned. Remember how it feels to work with purpose, to help with love, to be truly part of your family and your world." And then, as mysteriously as she had appeared, the old woman faded into the evening mist, leaving Jin standing in the field as the first stars began to appear. He ran home, his human legs feeling strange and wonderful. And when he burst through the cottage door, his mother cried out with happiness and wrapped him in her arms. His father embraced him tightly, and his sister and brother danced around him with delight. That night, the family sat together around their table, sharing a simple meal of bread and soup and vegetables from their garden. Jin ate slowly, tasting every bite, appreciating the food in a way he never had before. He looked at each face around the table, his beloved family, and his heart felt full to overflowing with love and gratitude. From that day forward, Jin was a different person. He still loved to watch the clouds and listen to the birds. But now he did these things during his rest times, after he had helped in the fields or the garden, after he had carried water or gathered wood or done whatever needed doing. He found that the clouds seemed even more beautiful now, the bird songs even sweeter, because he had earned his rest through honest work. And when he lay beneath the old oak tree on quiet afternoons, he would sometimes think of old Bo, the patient ox, who had taught him so much, and he would smile and feel grateful for everything he had learned. The village children would sometimes ask him why he always seemed so content, why he worked so willingly, why he smiled so often. And Jin would tell them softly about the importance of balance, about giving and receiving, about how the sweetest rest comes after meaningful work, and how the most beautiful moments in life are even more precious when we have earned them through care and effort and love. Years passed like gentle waves on a shore, and Jin grew into a kind and hard-working young man. He never forgot the year he spent as a calf, learning lessons that no words could have taught him. And on quiet evenings, when the work was done and the sky turned to shades of purple and gold, he would sometimes hear the soft tap-tap-tap of a walking stick on a distant path, and he would smile and whisper a quiet thank you to the mysterious old woman who had given him the greatest gift of all, the gift of understanding. "You did well today, my little love. Now let your eyes grow heavy, and let the night wrap around you like a soft blanket. Sleep well, sweet dreams, and rest deeply."